And we got a hell of a card for you, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to kick things off in the lightweight division. Joaquin Silva versus Nazareno Malagari. 156. And his opponent, Joaquin Silva. 154.5 for Mr. Silva. First fight of the night, ladies and gentlemen. How about a nice round of applause for Joaquin Silva and Nazareno Malagari. The next fight takes place in the middleweight division. Joe Diesel Riggs versus Ron the Choir Boy Stallings. 184 for Mr. Stallings. And his opponent, Joe Diesel Riggs. 187.5. Ron Stallings and Joe Riggs, ladies and gentlemen, live on UFC Fight Pass. The next fight takes place on the Fox Sports 1 prelims. We kick things off in the featherweight division. Clay Collard versus Tiago Traidor. 146 for Tiago. And his opponent, Clay Collard. 146 for Mr. Collard. Tiago Traidor and Clay Collard, ladies and gentlemen. The next fight takes place in the women's bantamweight division. Jessica Andrade versus Raquel Pennington. 136 for Miss Pennington. And her opponent, Jessica Andrade. 134.5 for Miss Andrade. Raquel Pennington and Jessica Andrade, ladies and gentlemen. The next fight takes place in the bantamweight division. Francisco Rivera versus John Lineker. 135.5 for Mr. Lineker. And his opponent, Francisco Rivera. 136 for Mr. Rivera. That's an outstanding fight, ladies and gentlemen. John Lineker and Francisco Rivera. The next fight takes place in the lightweight division. Ross Pearson versus Paul Felder. 155.5 for Mr. Felder. And his opponent, Ross Pearson. 155.5 for Mr. Pearson. That is an outstanding fight, ladies and gentlemen. Paul Felder and Ross Pearson. Next, we move to the main card, live on pay-per-view. We kick things off in the women's strawweight division. Paige Van Zandt versus Alex Chambers. 115 for Alex. And her opponent, Paige Van Zandt. For 12-gauge Paige. Alex Chambers and Paige Van Zandt kicking things off on the pay-per-view card. Next, we move to the light heavyweight division. Jan Blachowicz versus Corey Anderson. First up on the scale, Corey Anderson. 205 for Mr. Anderson. And his opponent, Jan Blachowicz. 205 for Mr. Blachowicz. Corey Anderson and Jan Blachowicz, ladies and gentlemen. The next fight also takes place in the light heavyweight division. Anthony Rumble Johnson versus Jimmy, the poster boy Manawa. 204 for Mr. Manawa. And his opponent, Anthony Rumble Johnson. 205 for Rumble. Another outstanding matchup, ladies and gentlemen. Jimmy Manawa and Rumble Johnson. Next fight takes place in the heavyweight division. The co-main event. Andre Arlovsky versus Frank Mir. 266 for the former UFC heavyweight champ, Frank Mir. And his opponent, also former UFC heavyweight champion of the world, Andre Arlovsky. 237 and a half for Mr. Arlovsky. The battle of the former heavyweight champions, ladies and gentlemen, Frank Mir and Andre Arlovsky. Now, ladies and gentlemen, presenting the challenger, John Dodson. First up on the scale, the magician, John Dodson. $125 for the challenger. And his opponent, the reigning, defending, undisputed flyweight champion of the world, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. $124 and a half for the champ,